Friday, January 29th, 2021, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. So the gold and silver ratio and the dollar index are pointing to a major move higher, in my opinion, very soon in the precious metals, gold and silver, also platinum for that matter, I would say. In all commodities in general, the dollar index has been, of course, dropping for the last few months quite precipitously, but we're going to look at some charts, more longer term charts that are actually starting to keel over in terms of the indicators like moving averages. Before I do that, just want to talk about what's going on with WallStreetBets, GameStop, and what happened yesterday, which was quite outrageous, that brokers like Robinhood and others actually stopped people from dealing in these stocks, or if they didn't stop them, they would only allow them to sell the stock. They didn't allow them to buy it anymore. It's totally outrageous. It's, of course, what Wall Street did as well to the Hunt brothers and the people who were long silver in 1980. The Crimex, or better known as Comex, but we call it Crimex, a lot of us in the alternative, in the gold bug world, right? Crimex, they basically stopped people from buying silver. They did the same thing, and that brought down the silver price, of course. That bankrupted the Hunt brothers. The Hunt brothers, they knew what was happening to the dollar back in 71 when Nixon closed the gold window. The Hunt brothers, their father was one of the richest men in the world. They made their fortune from oil, and they started buying silver in 1971 because they couldn't buy gold because it was banned at the time. It was illegal till 1975. So they had been buying silver since 1971, and then they had other entities joining them, like countries in the Middle East, and even people in Texas. Yes, I'm not going to go through this so much, but I've read and listened to people like Lindsey Williams, who talks about this with a guy called Jonathan May, who was involved with the Hunt brothers and the people in Texas buying silver as well. There was talk that Texas, and even John Connolly was involved, the former Treasury Secretary. They wanted to declare independence because I think in Texas they have to ratify the treaty. Texas is the only state that became a state through a treaty. Other states became states after the original 13 colonies. It was done because they were first a territory, and it was a congressional process. But Texas is the only state by treaty, and this treaty has to be ratified every year. So there was talk of even Texas going independent again, the Republic of Texas. So yeah, Wall Street, they'll fight. But yesterday, after they did that, I thought to myself, well, now it's over. Nice try. Millennials, Wall Street bets, and the Reddit people, of course. And it's not just millennials now. I saw some people commenting on that Wall Street bets Reddit subreddit that, oh, my grandfather's just joined, So everyone's kind of joining in. I don't know how many millions they have following that now, but I saw last night that brokerages like Robinhood and others had to back down, and they've reinstated GameStop and all the other stocks like BlackBerry and AMC. So it's going to be very interesting today. There's options expiry today, end of the month, for stock market indices, for stocks, options on stocks. I don't know if it's triple witching, where you also get other things expiring, like the index futures But it could be really interesting. And a few more things before I go into the gold silver ratio and the dollar index about what happened yesterday. We now know that Citadel, which is one of the biggest hedge funds in the world, and funnily enough, one of my good clients when I was in the city working as a futures and options broker, he worked for Citadel. He was a trader there, and he dealt with me. So, yeah, it's crazy. But Citadel is behind Robinhood. I think they funded Robinhood. They're behind Melvin Capital. And we find now as well that Janet Yellen, who took about $8 million in speaking fees from Wall Street and other big corporations, she got $800,000 from Citadel to speak to them. The New York Post has written an article about it from yesterday. It says White House, I think is the press secretary, Jen Psaki, she said, shouldn't be a surprise Janet Yellen paid by firm in GameStop struggle. So I went through this and she's saying, of course she gets paid to talk to these people because she's an expert in the economy and in the markets. But I can tell you when I worked in the markets, the people in the markets who are the experts, they don't view the central bankers as experts in markets and the economy. They laugh at them. Janet Yellen is an academic. I don't think she knows what a put or a call is if it hit her in the face. She doesn't know about covered calls or, a naked short selling. I mean, this ridiculous excuse. It's coming out now, though. So people are seeing that it's all a scam, that it's all rigged. Doesn't matter if you're left and right. I would say even the left is more pro Wall Street than the right. So that's very interesting. I think it's going to get pretty interesting today again. And it seems like when Wall Street bets and these young people can go on and challenge these hedge funds, it seems like it makes the stock market, the general stock market drop, because we saw on Wednesday when this was all culminating, and I don't know if it's culminated on Wednesday. We could keep seeing this today, but the Dow dropped 700 points at one point, finished down 600. S&P was down 2.5. NASDAQ was down 2.5. And yesterday when they stopped these people from dealing, calmed things down, the stock market rallied. And now, as I speak here, 8:15 London time, 8:15 a.m., the Dow is down 370. The NASDAQ is down almost 2%, down 220. So why is that happening? Well, because if this band of millennials and now other people also, boomers or whatever you want to call them, joining, if they're going to go after Wall Street, the hedge funds, it's going to cause problem because they're all interconnected. You see Citadel is funding Melvin. Citadel is funding Robinhood. Citadel apparently was making markets in options in GameStop. So let's say, for example, if you're Melvin Capital and you've shorted a GameStop stock and you want to protect yourself, what do? Well, you buy some way out of the money calls to protect yourself if the market goes up. But who's selling you the calls? Well, the company that owns you. So, and by selling the calls, Citadel will be exposed. So they're all interconnected. That's why we saw in 2019 September the repo crisis, when interest rates, overnight rates for Wall Street institutions to lend money to each other, that rate went from 2% to 2%. The Fed had to come in and bail them out. And months later, there was talk that it was hedge funds that were in trouble because of the repo market. Even people like Citadel were mentioned, and even Ray Dalio's hedge fund was mentioned, Bridgewater Associates. So yeah, these hedge funds, it's become like socialized speculation. And believe me, I'm not against speculation. If you go back if you look at the etymology of the word, it means to try to look forward, speculare. So that's what's going on there. So let's see what happens today. Back to the gold-silver ratio. I've spoken many times that in precious metals bull markets, silver outperforms gold. So the gold-silver ratio is actually the price of an ounce of gold in ounces of silver. So if that ratio drops, it means you're buying more gold for less silver. And as silver outperforms in bull markets, when that ratio starts dropping, it's a good sign. It means that silver will do well and gold will do well as well. Not as well, but it's been the way in the last 50 years that that ratio drops when there's a major bull market in gold. And this ratio last year, though, went up to almost 130, which was unheard of. So silver was very undervalued. And since then, as you can see on this chart, that gold-silver ratio has dropped all the way down to just above 70. And for the last, well, since last year, summer last year, it's been consolidating here just above 70. And it looks like it's breaking down. Yes, yesterday there was a lot of talk about the Wall Street bet people going after the silver shorts. So silver outperformed. So we could see that reverse. But I've been looking at this ratio. I've been talking to you guys about it for the last week or two. And I think we're almost near a critical juncture here. It looks like it's going to break down. And that's a sign that silver should start motoring up, test that 30 level. And that's going to take gold with it, in my opinion. So that's the gold-silver ratio. The other thing that I noted, and I have to give credit to Rafi Faber. He mentioned this few days ago because I hadn't looked too much at the moving averages. The dollar index, we've had a death cross in the weekly chart. So death cross is when the 50-week moving average drops below the 200-week moving average. And as you can see here by this long-term chart of the dollar index, in bear markets, dollar bear markets, that 50-week moving average is below the 200-week moving average. And yes, the dollar has been very bearish since last year, but it's only recently that that this death cross took place in the moving averages. And that's an even more negative signal for the dollar. Yes, this shorter term chart here shows you a lot better the death cross, so the 50 going under the 200. And despite the fact that right now the dollar has strengthened for a while, as I've said, I think this is just consolidation. We're just forming a flag here. And I think the dollar is ready to keel over. We're seeing the gold-silver ratio ready to break down. So I think it's all pointing to dollar weakness, strength in metals, strength in commodities. And what's going to drive that? Well, I think it's all the mayhem in the markets. It's to do a little bit with the GameStop thing, all the short squeezes. It's going to lead the powers that be, the Fed, to accommodate, because if they don't, we could see Wall Street in trouble. Because the problem with the hedge funds and the banks is that they leverage a lot. So when Melvin goes short the GameStop stock, they leverage it many times over. So it creates problems. It creates a lot of mayhem. And of course, that has been leverage, or debt has been the trouble of stock market investing or gambling speculation for as long as there has been stock markets. It was the problem in the 1920s and the 1929 crash, people buying everything on leverage. And I'm sure a lot of these millennials who are very clever know about this, but they need to be careful. And the viewer who put me on to GameStop, and he told me about the Wall Street Bets movement, he sent me a video yesterday of the guy who actually started looking into GameStop Very clever guy, young guy, married with a little girl, I think 2 or 3 years old. And yeah, a lot cleverer than I am in terms of tech, analyzing the stock market, stocks. He's a real genius in terms of spreadsheets. I mean, he's got everything in spreadsheets. So I'm going to put a link to one of his latest videos. He looks goofy, but he's very clever. Don't be fooled. And he started his channel last year talking about GameStop. And if you listen to his videos, and they're usually very long, he makes really long, hour-long live streams. And the YouTube channel is called Roaring Kitty. But I was listening to him last year, and he said, or even recently, when GameStop was around 40 or 60, and he started looking into it. He says he's been looking at it for years. He said he's been waiting for this for years. So I don't think this guy who started looking at GameStop, his intention was to create Wall Street Bets and this movement against Wall Street. He was actually a guy who was interested in the markets, and he believed in GameStop. And it's not only GameStop he traded on. He's got like over 3,000 issues, stock issues in his spreadsheet. Very clever guy. So I recommend you look into his channel. I think he started last year, so you can go through all his videos and see what he says. And yeah, I thought that was interesting, and I'm glad people like the viewer who sent me this send me stuff. Yeah, sometimes I can't see everything, but it really helps because I wouldn't have known about this if it wasn't for him. I'm not going to go through the markets again. You saw that the stock market is down this morning. Just to let you know where gold and silver are. Well, gold is up slightly at 1845. Silver is corrected down, but it almost went to 27 yesterday. I think the high was 26.98. Right now it's down 5 cents, but still quite strong, 26.42. And what about the other currencies? Yeah, the pound is down quite a bit, about a third, but the pound has been going up a lot. And the euro and the yen are basically unchanged versus the dollar. So there you go. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Please share it far and wide. Think about subscribing to my channel if you haven't yet. And you can also follow me on Facebook, Hive, BitChute, Library, and DTube. I wish you all a great weekend. Take care. Bye.